nothing to do with my sermon, but I heard it earlier this week, and it just causes me to giggle every time I think of it. You know that famous joke of what time is it when an elephant sits on your fence, right? Time to get a new fence. So, why is it so hard to find elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Because they're good at hiding in the trees. That's why it's hard to find them. All right. You're going to think about it throughout the day, and you are going to giggle. I can tell you that much. You've heard the phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And while I believe that may be true of your autoimmune suppressant or your autoimmune response, I'm not sure it's really true of anything else, that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I did, however, hear a version of that line earlier this week, and it said, what doesn't kill you mutates and tries again, which I think is a better application of actually what's going on with COVID right now. But again, it still doesn't really resonate with how I feel about the struggles and challenges that we all feel and face in our lives, and that is what doesn't kill you, I believe, actually does leave you diminished. It leaves you exhausted. And sometimes it leaves you incapable of making good decisions and responding properly. I realize that this may not resonate with all of you who are listening, either here or at home. But it's worth thinking about for just a moment that those difficulties and challenges in our lives that leave us at death's door do in fact leave us diminished, even if we do survive. But I do think that we're all tired and exhausted. But I would add to this morning, and that is what doesn't kill you offers you an amazing opportunity for personal growth. It's what happens in that split second between fight or flight that we can find our most amazing opportunity for change and growth. When confronted by serious challenges, when placed in extraordinary circumstances, we usually react. We usually rush to an old pattern, and we don't seize the moment to learn and to grow. A parent says something to us that triggers a response. A brother does something that triggers a response. But it's in that exact moment that we have an opportunity to redirect and to change our lives. We usually do the same thing over and over again. That's the power of the pattern. But it's also the opportunity that is offered us when faced with literally paralyzing fear. Literally, paralyzing fear means being frightened into inaction. Scared stiff means you can't move. And there is that split second between making a decision and acting that we have the greatest opportunity for growth. Neuroscientists at the University of Bristol have identified a brain pathway that might be the universal response to freeze in place when we are afraid. That is the instant I want to focus on this morning. No doubt, after the moment has passed and we've had time to reflect and think about our action, that we might have acted differently. We may recall after the fact that we have missed an opportunity for growth. Teachers call that a teachable moment. A great educator will seize an opportunity in a class to stop everything and to ask, What's going on here? What are we doing? What are we learning? What are we feeling? Before we move on to the action, this nanosecond is identified and amplified in this morning's parsha. Vayihi bayamim hahem, vayigdal Moshe, vayetze el achav, vayar besivlotam, vayar ish mitzri makeh ish ivri me'achav. Sometime after all of Moses' growing up, he went out and he saw his kinsfolk and he witnessed their labor. And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. And that's where I say, let's stop. Before we move on to further parts of the text, let's have a full stop. No action. Faced with the choice in front of him, Moses has a moment in which the text refers to him as Vayigdal Moshe, Moshe grew. And Rashi points out, there was no need to say that. We had already learned it earlier in the text. Faced with choices, Rashi sees an opportunity for change. Seizing on the two words Vayigdal Moshe, Rashi says he grew first in his stature, second time in his greatness. Drawing on the commentary of the Yalkut Shimoni, Rashi says there are two ways we grow in life. We physically grow and we emotionally grow. The Torah remarks that Moshe grew once as a child into a man, and second from a immature person to one with greater sense of empathy. As we grow older, we grow physically and we grow emotionally, we hope. No doubt there are those in life who suffer from arrested development. Life, though, doesn't have to be that way, especially if we take full advantage of life's opportunities whenever and wherever they present themselves. Vayar besivlotam, Moses saw their suffering. He bore witness to their pain. And it's in that moment that he grows. And Rashi continues, he set his eyes and his mind to share in their distress. Moses has a moment where he says, I can walk away or I can do something. I can fight or I can leave. But he takes that moment, Vayar besivlotam. Rashi amplifies it and says he saw their suffering. And he took a moment and said, how does that make me feel? What can I do about it? Will I do what I've always done in the past, and that's walk away? Or will I make a difference? And then he decided to act. I don't believe for a moment that this is the first time that Moses witnessed Egyptians brutalizing Hebrews. I don't believe for a moment that growing up in the house of Pharaoh, who made tyrannical decrees all the time, that Moses saw for the first time suffering. He was raised with privilege, but not blinders. Yet this is the moment Moses stops and says, I'm going to change my own pattern. Does growth come from seeing another's pain, or do we grow when we're able to see another's pain? Either way, Moses in this place and in this time decides to change his lifelong pattern. And the next verse then elongates the moment even further. We've only been on one verse. Now we go to the next verse in the text. It says, Vayifein ko v'cho. Ki ein ish vayach et mitzri vayitamehu b'cho. Moses looked around. He looked back and forth. Still haven't acted. Still looking around. And I wonder what he's thinking in that moment. Is Moses thinking, isn't somebody else going to step up and help? Is he looking around for someone else to do this action? Or as we have traditionally understood it. Is Moses looking around to see if anybody is going to witness what he's going to do next? Moses is somewhat afraid. If he kills this Egyptian, someone will have seen it, and he'll then get in trouble for it. So he looks back and forth. I still believe in Moses, and I think he was thinking to himself, maybe someone else will come to this person's aid. Seeing no one, he makes the determination that he has no choice but to come and help. As Yismach Moshe says, the great Hasidic Rebbe, he says, Zeh Shemoshe Amad Beperetz Lefanai. Moses begins the process of doing what he's going to do for the Jewish people. Time and time again, he stood in the breach. When no one else steps forward, Moses time and time again steps up. Rashi says he looked this way and that, trying to decide if this maybe was an isolated incident. Maybe this wasn't the way Egyptians and Hebrews regularly interacted, but he knew that wasn't true. And he knew it didn't make a difference if this was an isolated circumstance or a pattern. He had to change himself. Max Weber once wrote, 3 essential features of political leadership are passion, responsibility, and judgment. This sermon is not about leadership, but it is about direction in our own lives. Each of us must live lives of passion. Each of us must take responsibility rather than blaming someone else or saying that this is just the way I am. Each of us must find a way to apply good judgment. Moses, no doubt, looked back and forth, this way and that. In my opinion, he was doing what he had to do. He was taking another moment, elongating that split second so that he could make a decision, not just to save a Hebrew's life, but to change the direction of his own. I say to all of us, look around for partners to help us do exactly this. It's hard to recognize in that moment that we're just acting the same way we've always acted. Ask for help from people who might be able to reflect backwards to us the patterns they see to which we have only a blind eye. So we're now at the time of year where we look back at our last year and we look forward. I don't think this is a time where Jews make New Year's resolutions. I think this is the time of year when Jews check in on their New Year's resolution. The high holidays, just months ago, we sat here and we thought about how we were going to change our lives for the coming year. The secular New Year offers us the chance to say, how are we doing? To paraphrase Ed Koch. How are we doing? Am I eating too much? Am I exercising enough? Am I offering enough help? Am I giving enough charity? If we can, in this moment, ask ourselves those questions and then go one step further with each one of them, then we'll have a chance for personal reflection that will affect change in our lives. Am I not working out because I'm tired? Because I'm worn down? Am I not offering someone some help because I'm too overwhelmed with my own needs? Am I not giving to charity because I'm afraid there won't be enough left for myself? Am I eating because I'm bored or because I'm sad? Am I canceling plans with friends because of a real fear of COVID? Or have I just gotten in the groove of staying home? How we answer these questions will most certainly change our behavior. Taking the time to ask ourselves these questions will most certainly change our patterns for living. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with Musaf, page 184.